Tim and Shu, you're here. How are you doing?
Oh,
Hi.
thank you. Hi, nice to
Yes.
meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Um,
Yeah, Shu
yeah,
is from,
I'm from Australia. Yes.
yes.
So the time's not great for me in terms of I need to work while I'm participating, but it's exactly this group has been exactly what I've been looking for a long time. So I couldn't pass the opportunity to be involved. So thank you so much for holding these
Oh,
sessions
we'd
and
love to have you.
inviting
Just
me.
if you have a dream, just go ahead and maybe put it in the text. I thought we'd do Roy. Hi, Tim. How are you doing? Is
Good.
Shu, this is Roy Stone. He's from near Miami, Florida, and Gary here is from Nebraska. Tim is from Montana. So we're all over the
Hi.
United States, and Charles is currently in Maine, which is
Oh,
up in
amazing.
the northeast part of the North America or of
So
the United States.
we've got it covered. And you're in
Yeah, we got
Estonia?
we got
Yes,
it covered pretty much the whole country. Yeah, well, Shu, if you
yeah.
have a dream, we can get your dream, but I know maybe Tim has one and Charles has one. We'll see how many we can get done. Now this is
No, I do have a dream, but was I meant to write it down or
no,
was
you
I meant to
don't.
put it somewhere?
Yeah, no, you don't. It's not necessary to write it down. If you could just tell it to us. Why don't do you want to start out? We'll start out with you. We'll start out with Tim Roy's dream. Is that okay? It's in the chat, and then we'll do yours next, Shu. Okay.
Sure.
So it'll give
Okay.
you a good idea of what we do, and then you'll be able to see what we do, which is try to use symbolic thinking, basically. And
Yeah, amazing.
yeah, I
Amazing. Yes.
think
Yeah, I'm an astrologer and I do, I guess, integrate this kind of thinking and this kind of work in my practice. So it'd be just, yeah, it's just so amazing that I've managed to stumble across your YouTube videos. So it's just been so great.
oh well, great. We'll just take maybe about 20-25 minutes on Roy's dream, and then we'll do yours, and then if either Tim or Charles have, at least at the end, Charles, I'd like to introduce your dream because we did spend a session on it, but I have more thoughts on it. And then Gary, if you have one, but why don't we do Roy's dream first? I put it in the chat. And Roy, do you want to read the dream?
Well, to make a point, my other dream, the framed house in the woods, we just totally skipped it. It's the next one in the sequence, and we can save this one for another time. And
all
then,
right, put the
and that'll
let's
go
put the
quickly.
frame.
That'll go quickly.
Yeah, because this one is fabulous. But yeah, let's get the framed house in the woods. I forgot about that one. Okay, if you can hold on just a second, I will.
It's only about 2 sentences, so
No.
I mean, we don't even have to put it in the chat.
Okay, well, go ahead, and if you can just read it.
Yeah, it's just I had this really vivid dream where I'm in these woods with beautiful pine trees, huge pine trees, very vivid, colorful, and there's a frame house, and I felt like the frame house was for me. And then I was thinking maybe it's just my ego leaked in. Hey, if one of those trees fell on this house, it would just crush it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, all right. Well, let's go over this. First of all, we are in the woods, so we're in a place that's far away from the conscious city. You know, the city or the dwelling place of the collective. So it's a place where we go alone. So it really does represent the unconscious. It represents a place of exploration and of finding unexpected things. Okay. Well, we find an unexpected thing. We find a framed house. Now, by a framed house, you mean that it hasn't have any siding up yet?
That's correct.
Yes. So it's just the studs and the roof, you know?
Right.
Okay. All right. So anyway, that is, so there is a dwelling place for us in the unconscious, or it's being built for us. Okay. Now, isn't that beautiful? There is a dwelling
Like that.
place meant for us. It's being built in the unconscious. Who do you think is building it?
Wow. That's a good question. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say that this is like, remember Jung's last dream was that the inner Bollingen was finished. Okay. I don't think that means you're finished, but anyway, there is a house, there is a dwelling place in the unconscious that is being prepared for us. Now, who would prepare it would be the unconscious, would be the is the unconscious would be preparing it for us, Okay. Anyway, and it is, and it's not finished, but the frame or the outline of it is started. Now, what is threatening to it? Okay, is that there is these very, very large trees. And can you describe the nature of the forest again?
It's pine trees,
But not just any pine trees,
which are
right?
evergreens.
But
No,
aren't
not
they
just any. They're
large?
southern pines. You have like the different evergreens in the north, and you do in the south. We have like Dade County pine down here, loblolly pine. It's not
But-
like cedars and what's those big pine trees up north? Spruce,
The Douglas
spruce,
firs or the
firs and
spruce,
spruce. Yeah.
something like that. But anyway, it is it's something that is now why is it that why they're threatening to crush the house? What do you think about that? I mean,
Well, I've always lived near big trees, and they can just, I'm always in hurricane, tornado territory and all that, big trees. And all the time, I almost had a huge, about a 70-year-old tree fall on my house during just a little squall that came through about 5 years ago. And you see on the news all the time where people's cars and houses get crushed by trees, when the hurricanes come. So, it's a big thing down here.
Yeah, but the dwelling place in the internal world is being threatened by some rooted thing. Now, here, the rooted,
It's like my ego leaked in, and my conscious mind and life had that anxiety. It's ridiculous when you're in the inner world that your house is going to be crushed by a tree. It doesn't make any sense, because you're not in a physical world.
No, but okay, what is being threatened? It would be the large rooted thing. Now, see here, I was I was going under this very, very large limb. I'm just walking under it, and then I fall into a rut, and I can't move. I'm paralyzed, and the wind is blowing the limb around, and I'm afraid it's going to collapse on me. Under a huge rotting horizontal limb, 40 feet long and 6 to 8 foot in diameter, it's low to the ground and creaking dangerously. I was lying underneath the creaking dangerous branch, which seemed about to break off as its tremendous bulk and width appeared completely unsupportable. But I was inert and did not seem able to get out from under it. So now the only reason I'm showing that is that we are, somewhat threatened by the rooted thing. So the house in the dwelling place, in the unconscious is possibly being threatened by, now, what did you think it was being threatened?
Well, big trees fall over all the time. All you need is
Yeah.
a squall or, a little storm come through and,
Okay, so a
and-
storm.
yeah.
Yeah. What is threatening this internal dwelling place is some potential storm that comes up. Not necessarily the tree, but the storm itself.
Well,
now
it's the tree. The storm's not the problem. The tree falling on you is the problem.
Okay, but the tree would not fall normally. It would have to be some storm or some
Oh, yeah.
event. Yeah.
Which always happens eventually.
Yeah. What
With
do you
trees,
think?
With big
Yes.
trees.
Unless they're dead and fall over.
Well,
What
that's
do you
still the
think?
same thing.
Yes. What do you think, Gary?
Well, let's go back to it's being threatened by the root of the thing. And the structure is new and not completed. And yet the structure is, more discerning than the forest. It's like it's adding like the conscious aspect because, this is organized to, according to some principle. So to me, so it's like an affect, it's the surrounding unconscious threatens the new thing which is coming into being. And there's the angst about whether or not the new thing can survive in this primitive wilderness.
Yeah, something perilous about these. Okay, let me just mention this is when you're in Norway, there is, if you live at the base of a mountain, you're always in danger of avalanches. There's always a danger. Well, here's the danger. Okay, now that got me thinking. The danger is that the unconscious is too is too is too uncontrolled and at this point and too like if you go into the ocean in a little boat, it's dangerous because the ocean is so huge and so it's so stormy. So this dwelling place for the ego is possibly being threatened by this unconscious realm being dangerous in itself. So the dwelling place for the ego in the unconscious. Now, see that. Now, what do you think about that? It's the dwelling place for the ego in the unconscious that's being built, is being threatened at this point because the unconscious is still somewhat wild and dangerous for ego. Well, what would happen too is the dwelling place that's being threatened for ego. So the place where the ego would find refuge in the unconscious has a tenuous hold on its existence, and it is also in its nascent stage. So let's say this was the divine child, okay, and it's in the womb. It hasn't been born yet. Will it be born? That's the question. What do you think, Tim?
Well, I want to reiterate it in slightly different terms. To me, it sounds like nature is overcoming the ordered psychic structure. And so my question is, Roy, what is it in your life right now that is being threatened or being uprooted? And how does that threaten your order?
Well, it's my belief and philosophy that, like Schopenhauer's wheel, it really runs our life, and so there's always an irrational component in reality that you don't see and could just wipe you out in a second. I mean, there's no way to get around that if you're going to open up to the unconscious, if you're going to open up to reality.
Yeah, so if this was my situation, I think I'd spend some time just doing some writing about various situations going on right now, you know, and apply that metaphor to all these different places and see what resonates.
Been reading too much Schopenhauer.
You've been reading too much? Okay. Well, I mean,
Now I know why he was so pessimistic.
Yeah, well, it still is, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, everything about it is beautiful, but the thing that is overhanging it is that it is not, the gates to heaven have not opened for us, because there is still a great deal of uncertainty involved. You know, so even though there is a promise of some development in the unconscious, it is not certain. There's a lot of uncertainty that revolves around it. And that's because, you know, we never really come to a final realization. It's always this, you know, potential for regression and things like that. But it's very hopeful, and yet there is a cloud, a dark cloud in the sky. There's a hopeful message and a dark cloud in the sky at the same time, you know, and it is nascent, you know, I mean, it's about to be born, you know. Now, Shu, I was wondering if you had this dream, could you just mention some of the things that, if, let's say you personally had this dream, what would you think about it?
Well, just in listening to the conversation, and I'm always kind of thinking in astrological symbols, but today is the second Saturn-Uranus square that's the big theme for 2021, and that sort of represents systemic change, like our inner scaffolding being pulled down in order to be reconfigured to align to, I guess, future aspirations, changing values, all that kind of stuff. So what the narrative has been so far, it very much reflects that in terms of, you know, the this nascent kind of house that's being built for one's ego or spirit, but not quite formed yet, which makes sense because it's kind of still in that building phase. And I was thinking about the pine trees that stood out in the dream, and the correspondence of the pine is the sun, and the sun represents our spirit and our ego, our purpose, our will, that divine will. And I thought, aha, so exactly what you were saying, like this structure that's housing this ego that's not quite developed yet, but there's this potential that's there, that's being, I guess, worked on, but yet there's trepidation and fear and you know, some nervousness around it. That's where that Uranus is, because it's something new, something unknown, you know, and where Uranus comes in is, you know, it has to go through some kind of a breakdown before it breaks through. So there's a bit of a chaotic feel behind all of this thing. So that's how I kind of saw this dream. You know, pretty much exactly what you were saying, but just through different lens.
Well, yeah, that's very good. Now, see, you're using astrology is very similar to the way we would use an I Ching hexagram. You know, what is the Tao of this dream? What is the Tao of this moment in this dream? And one of the things I think is so beautiful in what you said, and something I never considered before, is that we call the tree the rooted thing. And yet, where does it get its food? It gets it from the sun, you know, it gets it from the sun and chlorophyll. So it is a thing that roots itself in the deep underworld and comes out of the underworld. You know, the truth that sprouts from its own from the earth, and yet it gets its nutrition from the sun. So I mean that just adds a level of mystery to the tree that I never did. Anybody else think about that before? You know, it's just it adds a real it ties it to the celestial realms, you know, really.
Yeah, well, the more and more I look at things now, especially through the alchemical lens, the more and more I see it as like literally the universal model for everything. So this is that metaphor of that tree is literally the above and the below, going back to the above. It's the integration of the two worlds manifest in a form, which is the form of the tree. But yeah, it's brilliant.
That's a beautiful image. Charles, did you have any thoughts about it? Are you still here? Oh yeah, you're there.
Yeah.
You come in and out sometimes.
Yeah, I
Thank
mean,
you.
this this kind of makes me think that, you know, I don't know, this is just my thoughts on it, that the house is a sort of like afterlife house, and that, you know, the unconscious is sort of, because of the potential tree falling, that it is almost like constructing it, but well, I don't know. It's like the afterlife house is in construction, but by chance, it may or may not have to be rebuilt. And I feel like, you know, the idea of the tree destroying it, that's just kind of the nature of the unconscious. It's generative, but also destructive potentially, and it'll give life or it will take it away. It will start preparing you for the afterlife, or it'll have the tree destroy that house and keep you on, you know, the physical plane a little bit longer and build you a different house. That's just, you know, that's just how I look at it. So for me, there's emphasis on the fact that, like, oh, the tree might fall down on it. And it's just one of those, like, kind of freak accident things. And that it's not just a tree in a yard. Well, it's like in the middle of the forest, like the very creative energy. And yeah, I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it.
Well, let me just say one word about the afterlife. You know, first of all, in the afterlife, there is no time. So there's no before or after, you know, I mean, in the pleroma or in the psyche, all time is there. So when you enter that one of the strange things, you know, about time is that, you know, we experience time as one moment after another. But in the pleroma, there is a strange sense that all time, both what future and past and the present, are there at once. And you know how they describe it is it's a great big book of 7. Well, I mean, you can tell that by the Piscean ages. You know, I mean, not the Piscean, but the astrological ages. I mean, who came up with this thing of the age of Aries and the age of Pisces, and then goes to the age of the water bearer? I mean, someone somebody sensed a unconscious image of the evolution of the God image, you know, somehow. And every 2,600 years it happens. But anyway, what is kind of interesting too is, so it's not so much something that is going to happen after we're dead. There is that aspect. But there also is the aspect of that it is our dwelling place in the timeless realm. Now, what Joseph Campbell says, that you don't experience eternity only after you're dead. You're supposed to experience eternity now. And this is where we're going to experience eternity. And I see it, Roy, as something similar to the divine child, or something similar to the philosopher's stone, or it is a through your work with the unconscious, you have developed a foothold in the inner world, and it's not fully developed yet, but the outlines of it are beginning to form. That now, so let's say it was a very sturdy house, you know, with great things, and if the tree fell on it, it just might damage the roof a little bit, but it wouldn't flatten the house because it had such a great foundation and a lot of things in there. But I think that the idea is that there is something being born within in the inner world, and yet it is in a state right now where it's still there is a lot of uncertainty if it's going to come into being. But the magical thing about it, it's being built, and it's not being built by ego. It's coming into being some other way. What do you think, Roy? I mean, you usually have a more a better cling on the instinctive world than anybody I know. What do you think?
I think that it's actually what you're saying, Craig. Something new is being built, and unconscious, something new is being built. And my ego just bled into the dream. Sometimes you're thinking in a dream. I like the dreams I'm just totally passed out, and that doesn't happen. But I think my ego bled into the dream, and with the tree falling thing. But something new's being built in the unconscious, and lots of things that are being built new don't go anywhere. So I don't need to worry about that. I just need to celebrate, well, something new's being built in the unconscious. Wonderful. I mean, that's a good image for me. That's numinous, and I can go with that.
Yeah, and you know, the dream that follows this, I can't wait to link it up with this dream. You know, Gary or Tim or Shu or Charles, do you have any other thoughts about it?
Just another idea that that building your individuality is always a threat to the collective. And, you know, anytime you make a declaration, you know, I'm going to build this house, there's always some danger that somebody's going to try to tear it down because you're, you know, doing something by yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is well, it is what I would really say. It is our inner half of the world, the part that is lacking in our ego, is forming in the inner world. So our inner half is forming in the inner world. Now, often the inner half in Roy's dream are represented by animals. But now this is a dwelling place, so it really is a temenos or a philosopher's stone. So it's a temple of wisdom where the third thing can occur. So it really isn't, it is somewhat of a symbol, but it's a place where symbols will form, you know, in the inner world. It's a place where the inner world and the outer world can meet, you know, together. That's what I always thought of as the Philosopher's Stone. It is a place where ego cannot exist in the unconscious because it would be obliterated. And the unconscious can't exist in the outer world because it splits up into opposites. And so its wholeness is not there anymore. So the only place that the ego, which lives in the realm of opposites, and the unconscious, which is the potentiality and also contains it wants to incarnate in us, is in the temple of wisdom, or the Philosopher's Stone. And so this is kind of it's not so much just a dwelling place, but it's a holy place too. Don't you think that, Charles, that, I mean, Roy, that it has a sacred quality?
Oh yeah, you're right on, Craig. This is what's happening, and it's gonna filter down into this world. I'm gonna build something in this world as a reflection of that, no doubt about it.
Yeah, the sacred quality of the house being built in the inner world is going to manifest in the outer world, because what is develops there is going to then also find now it finds a place. It has a home in our consciousness has moved closer to the middle plane, and so now it can incarnate in the outer world. But the idea is it's in the it is, this is that meeting place or dwelling place, the sacred place. It reminds me very much of remember Jung's Liverpool dream, where you know, he sees this island in this sooty place, and the sun is shining on it in the middle of the night, you know, and someone, and he apparently is the only one that can see it, and it's on the middle of an island in the middle of a lake, and somebody tells him, they don't see it, but he's the only one that apparently sees it, and someone tells him that there's a fellow from Switzerland that lives nearby here too. And Jung said to himself, I know very well why he chose to live here. You know, so there's this idea of that it is the center of a mandala or something for Roy. You know, it is the formed center in what was previously the prima materia of the unconscious. In other words, the unconscious is developing a pattern, which means it's becoming more conscious. And that's what the frame house means. The tree that falls on it means before we had this frame house, all that woods was a disoriented place to get lost in. So this pattern that's developing in the unconscious is still under the threat of the chaos of the unformed unconscious, the prima materia of the darkness of the depths that haven't formed yet, like the house has. Well, Gary, have I beaten this to death yet, or do you have any? Or you or Charles or Shu have any comments? And then Shu, we could hear your dream.
Well, I think you did a great job on that.
Yeah. Well,
Is there
great.
one thing I would add, maybe?
Yes.
Perhaps the fact that it was the house unfinished, like just the skeletons
Yes.
of the house, might point to something about the vulnerability of the whole situation. You know,
Yes.
being visible right through to the core, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's an unfinished sketch of what could form, but hasn't formed. You know, so in other words, a sketch of what needs to happen has been sketched, but it's not finished. And yet the most you know, all these dreams just make my heart swell. But the thing that is most magical is who is building it. It's being built for me. Who is building it? They're not. They're unknown. They're unseen. We don't know who they are, and yet we know it's being built for us. I mean, that was what, Roy. That was. What do you think about that? I mean, that aspect of it.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of that. In fact, I have a house built in the pine woods that I drew. I was going to try to get it in the chat if I can get it on my desktop. I'm working on it right now. You're going to be surprised.
Okay, great.
I just got reminded of that. Oh yeah, this is very good dream, and I feel like that's happening.
Well, Wednesday we'll go over your next dream, which I think is really a follow-up to it, and has I don't want to give away the punchline, but it's got 4 characters in it, and one is in a trance. So who do you think he is?
Yeah, I know who
Probably
he is.
the one that is.
I know who he
building
is.
the house in the inner world, you know, and the one who knows how to get out of the room with no doors and windows.
He's the secret sauce.
Yes, I know. Well, why don't you find that drawing but Shu, do you want to start on your dream, and we'll see how many we can get done. I don't know. We spent yeah, go ahead. We'll try to get maybe Tim or Gary, if you have a dream too, you might want to get it up. And then I would like to spend a few minutes on Charles' dream at the end. And then I would like to go over it more in depth next time too. But go ahead, Shu.
Okay. It was a long one, but it was a vivid one. So I'll just pull out some parts that I thought were important. I was at a high school reunion, and but for some reason or other, my dream said it was kind of like the grounds of a temple. And, you know, there were some familiar faces from a long time, you know, from school days. So that, I thought that was interesting. That was the setting. And then I came across a large, very big, light brown snake. And I thought it was a good idea to trap it in a plastic bag to keep everyone safe, because my neighbor's dog was there. And I thought it was safe. I tied it up. But then when I came back, the snake was sort of nuzzling out of the bag. And I had a shovel in my hand, and I considered killing it, because it was either the snake kill me or I kill the snake. But for some reason, I knew my only option was to actually grab the snake right behind the head so that it couldn't bite me. And then it sort of blacked out for a little bit. And then all of a sudden I ended up being at a friend's place, helping her chop some firewood. And I saw a dog barking at something on the ground, the same dog. And I panicked that it was a snake. And I ran back there, but it was a dead turtle, a really big dead turtle. And then next to it was this little baby turtle that was alive. And my neighbor was there too to sort it out. And then I saw a big pagoda, like a Chinese, you know, pagoda. And, you know, they've got these sort of funny, like these roof shingles that are kind of curved, that almost look like turtle shells. Yes. And I climbed up it, and I saw that the whole roof was filled with turtles. And as I got up, they started moving away, and I saw one turtle kick a turtle behind it as if to say, get back in your shell, there's someone coming. And I was just fascinated by it all. But then when I decided to get down, I realized the whole roof was really slimy because of the turtles, and I was slipping off, and I was really holding on for my life. And I called out to my neighbor, who was still with the dog, and I said, bring a ladder over, you know. And he looked at me and he said, oh, just, you know, suck it up, you'll get down, you'll be right. And then I woke up. So I thought, oh, well, so I was kind of left hanging on this slimy roof full of turtles.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's get started. Now, these dreams that seem with disconnected parts, we just take each one by itself, you know, because what we often have is some part that's unrelated and from this, that, but the part that followed could not have followed if this first unconnected thing didn't happen, okay? So we start out with that we're at a high school reunion, okay? Now, this is, of course, the departure point. This is the place of the beginning where we start a circumambulation of the center. You know, we always come back to the departure point. You know, we start, we go, you know, there's certain things that happen and crises and everything, and then it ends. But the next time we start back at the high school, at the childhood home, at some place, okay, like that. Now, this one, though, is being held in something like a temple. So, you know, the reason that you would start at a university or a high school would usually mean it's the place of learning. So this is not only the place of learning, but it is also the place of sacred learning. So there's an aspect of it. It's a place of timeless knowledge, where timeless knowledge is distributed. You know, now we see some familiar faces there. Okay, so it's populated with anyway. It's not totally foreign to ego. There's something familiar about it. It's the high school reunion. Now that it isn't in a high school, so I mixed up there. It's not in a high school, but it's being held in a temple. But okay, so we are going to the group of we are going to the milieu or the place of our early education. We're revisiting that that group of people who were in that early learning stage, and we meet in the place of sacred learning. So we and those people are meeting in the place of sacred learning, a temple. Okay, now that's the first part of the dream. Okay, now I don't see the second part of the dream seems to be Act 2. You know, now in this case, it has this character. There is first a light brown snake. Now I'm assuming if it's in Australia, it's poisonous. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, is there anything in Australia? Isn't it amazing that in Australia there are so many spiders, snakes that have a very deadly substance that attacks the nervous system or kills the people. And why does it really need that such powerful medicine? You know, I don't know. It's very interesting how that happens. You know, but anyway, there is a neighbor's dog near, and we know that we need to contain this. Now, it's a dangerous instinctive factor. There's something very instinctive here. And the instinctive factor has a danger to, there's two instinctive factors. One is the dog. That's the one that's more familiar to ego. And then there's also one that is very unfamiliar to ego and is dangerous because of that. You know, so let's look at its objective factors rather than what its species is in Australia. I mean, it is a neighbor. There's the instinct that's friendly to ego, and then there's the instinct that's unfriendly to ego. And when now the instincts represent within us the wisdom of the body, okay? The wisdom of what built our bodies. So there is one instinct that built our bodies there that is friendly to ego. There's another one that's very foreign to ego. And let's say if it is dangerous to ego, what it means is that it has the capability of, now there is no such thing as death in dreams, okay? There is ego death, but if there's an ego death, it always implies a rebirth. Nothing dies permanently in a dream. What it means is something within us needs to die so that some new birth can occur. You know, that's what it always means. There's death in dreams is never annihilation, you know, but there is an aspect in here that is threatening to ego. And yet ego is showing a capability or an agility to not kill it, but to contain it so its threat to consciousness is not final. I mean, there's a real showing a deftness of here. You have put it in a bag. You got it out of the way, and then you see it coming out of the bag, and you know that you just need, you could kill it. It's either it or me, and yet you say, well, no, there's another possibility. I can grab it behind its head where it can't bite me. Now, do you remember what happened after you grabbed the snake? I think you said you kind of blacked out.
It just went to nothing. And
Yes.
then I just
To
woke
the
up.
next section. Yeah, the dream. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So in other words, there was just this, it's a very exciting, you know, get your adrenaline going. You know, there is this aspect of we are encountering instinct, but we're encountering two kinds of instincts, one friendly to ego, one not friendly to ego. And yet ego has without killing the dangerous aspect, has had some relatedness with it. You know, there's ego was not ready to kill it. Now, so that was just now we don't know what that means yet. Okay, now I have to do several iterations before I get done. So now that's Act 2. Okay, now we're going into Act 3. Okay, Act 3. Now each one of these is related to the next one. Okay, now the neighbor's dog is barking. Okay, and we think it's another snake, but no, this is the turtle dream. This is a wonderful, wonderful turtle dream. Now, what is a turtle? Isn't that an amazing creature? You know, it's this creature which lives in a shell, you know, and also can live on land or in water. So it is a you know, it's an amphibian. You know, it dwells in the unconscious, but it can dwell in the conscious as well. So it's different from the snake as an instinctive factor because it can go down into the depths and then come back up. So it can visit the depths. The snake just is very much related to the spinal column and the you know, this original bodily knowledge of man. You know, it's the most ancient consciousness of man. You know, now the turtle is something that goes down into the depths, can come back up. One is dead, but there's a new birth coming. Okay, so a new turtle is formed. You know, now that's very to me is really what Roy often says, what in this dream is the most meaningful? That is not the most meaningful, but it is certainly meaningful. A dead turtle and a newborn turtle. That is not a coincidence. It has a meaning. Okay, now this is kind of Act 4, and this is the Turtle Temple, the Temple of Turtles. Okay, now it is related to it is related. It is that instinctive factor. It is what's so beautiful about this Temple of Turtles is it is a great wisdom that lives on earth and in the deep unconscious. And yet it has built a temple, and its temple, its roof, its highest aspect, the spiritual aspect of the temple, the roof, is of those creatures which could go into the depths and come back up to the surface. So this is the temple which lives both on earth and in the depths. Now this to me is a very feminine temple. It is not. There's not an aspect of it, but it's spiritual that is related to the air. But its roof has a consciousness, and its roof is its highest point. And it is related to those creatures that can go down in the depths and come back up. And now we go up onto the roof. And now can you describe, Shu, a little bit more? Are the shingles turtles? Is that what you're saying?
No, they're not the turtles, but the turtles are just sitting all on the roof of the.
Oh, they're just all sitting on the roof.
Yes, but the
Okay,
shingles kind of look like turtles at the same time because they're
Yes.
black. They just reminded me of the TV show.
But they go up and sun themselves on the roof of the pagoda is basically what they're doing. So now, why did we go up on the roof? Do you remember?
I have no idea. I just climbed up to have a look.
To climb up and look at the turtles, and the shingles look like turtles, but it is the temple of the turtles. There's monkey.
I didn't know
temples.
there were turtles on the roof until I got up there.
Yes.
I got up there and I thought, wow, this whole roof is full of turtles.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's just okay. So we climb up on to the roof of a temple, and the roof is full of turtles. Now, what would you think if you crawled up on a roof of a temple and it was full of turtles up there? I mean, that is just amazing to me. It would be an amazing image. So, let's hear what Roy has to say. He's the expert on. What do you think, Roy? This is kind of one down your alley.
I don't know. It's nice to have the written dream, but what I can remember, she's going from the world of humans to the world of animals. And she's going to protect the dog, which is more the natural, instinctive, representative kind of instincts as a dog. It's just a perfect symbol for the unconscious to represent the instincts. And another type of instinct comes in, like you were saying, that's more alien, the snake. But in nature, an animal won't kill a snake unless it's hungry. Like a wolf will kill a snake and eat it. But most animals aren't bothered by the snake. They either get eaten by the snake or just leave. And of course, a mongoose will take care of a snake. So she's a human. When humans fear snakes, and they'll usually kill them. But she, probably in real life, I would imagine she doesn't try to kill snakes. She can answer this. She probably just sort of lets them go their way. And she did that in the dream. And then it switches to turtles. there's a dog, and it switches to turtles, and turtles and snakes are reptiles. So what I'm saying is, since she honored this dangerous instinct, this reptile, the reptiles took her to the reptile temple. This is a sacred thing, gift that the reptiles have given her because she let the snake go. And even though it endangered her regular instincts, she was able to do it in a way to honor this dangerous instinct. And she got herself up there. She can get herself down. She's perfectly
Yeah,
capable.
I didn't go.
She's a true Aussie, no doubt about it.
Yeah, well, just think of all the different instincts we see there. That we first, you know, have this place of the reunion of our youthful education. Then we have the snake and the dog, and then we have the turtle and the dead turtle and the baby turtle, and then we have where, you know, I was just Googling turtles on the roof. Have you ever, it's a very unusual place for a turtle to be on the roof.
How did they get up there?
Yes, how did they get up there? Why did they get up there? I mean, and on a Chinese pagoda too, you know, they go up there with the very ornate roof. It's not just any roof. It's a very decorative roof that is full of you know, it has a lot of symbolic character to it. It's not just a utilitarian roof. It is a roof of symbols. You know, the pagoda is a roof of symbols. Now, what's really amazing to me is that the Japanese temples and the Chinese temples resemble very much the Norwegian temples. The Norwegians have the same roofs that those other places have. And what do they have? Dragon heads on the roof. So the roof of the temples have the reptile on the head, which represents so the roof, the highest point of the temple in the Chinese or Japanese temples has the quality of the deep wisdom of the body in it. So it is the roof of those temples is not like you know, the overly spiritual temples of the Christian church. This is the roof is celebrating the deepest wisdom of our bodies. You know,
yeah, it's really interesting that you mentioned that symbology of the turtle, because I've been following the Venus cycle through the myth of Inanna in real time. So currently Venus, in the Venus cycle, she's come out of invisibility and she's just passed through that second gate of ascension where she goes back to her own temple. But I never made that connection that the turtles had that connection of like the descent and the ascension thing.
Yes, that's
So
exactly what Inanna does. You know?
Exactly. And I followed that. I do rituals and ceremonies around each of the gates in real time as the Venus makes the moon conjunction 7 times every half of her cycle. That symbolizes each gate that she goes through. So we've just had the second gate just this weekend. So
turtle is Inanna. Inanna is the turtle.
Turtle, yeah, right. So that's Venus speaking then.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the feminine temple. So yeah, that's really interesting. I never made that connection.
Well, I didn't either until you said it.
Yeah. And my father's ashes are in a pagoda. He was a Taoist, and yeah, his ashes are over in Malaysia, and yeah, they're in a pagoda. So I that was my initial thinking, oh, maybe it's my father coming into the dream, but it seems more like the Inanna coming into the dream.
Oh, these are very, the turtle and the snake, and especially the fact that it's preceded by the dead turtle and the baby turtle. That is a very, that is an omen that leads to that next part. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I find it really interesting that, I mean, she has two, animals, the turtle and the snake. So the snake is, the Hermes, between the worlds, can bring messages up from the underworld. But the turtle, there's, I'm not sure if it's I forget which religion it is, but, like, it reminds me of a story. And, this woman is attending this, astrophysicist lecture, and they're explaining about the creation of the universe. And she stands up and says, are so confused, the universe rests on a large turtle. And then, well, what's below the turtle? It's turtles all the way down,
Yeah.
And,
Well, the turtle is a very important, foundation.
Yeah, and so, well, and that's kind of where I was going with this, is that, it's to have this huge, this huge pile of turtles. And the other thing is that it's interesting because, if I remember correctly, and again, it would have been handy to have this written down, most of the turtles were in their shells and they didn't know if they wanted to come out. They weren't sure that they wanted to show themselves.
Well,
So,
one got kicked because it came out and it was supposed to go back in. And is that because you were looking at it, Shu, or you were near it?
Yeah, I poked my head. They got scared. They had their heads out initially, and as soon as they saw me, they all went back in.
Yeah.
And one obviously didn't get the message and got kicked and said, hey, get back in your shell.
So, I guess, I mean, it might be interesting to see the whole dream. I know we're missing some parts and maybe have the whole dream written out. But, what this is, it just feels like, a connection between the worlds with the snake and the turtle. And not only that, initially this dangerous thing, but this dangerous thing full of possibilities. The snake is contained in a bag, it's put in a container, and then, but it's released so that it can, continue its work, but it does have the possibility to do damage to things that we don't want it to. So there's care taken in where it can operate. And then with the baby turtle, which is, it's like a birth of a new process, and it's like, so maybe the stack is, kind of what is existing, and yet new awareness is coming into it. I mean, it seems to me to be a very significant dream, and I feel like we're just kind of skirting the edges of it right now.
Well, yeah, I think we really need to ponder it. Maybe we can do that on Wednesday too. But remember that Shu said it was very vivid, and remains in her. So it is. Do you know when you had this, Shu, or do you remember when it was?
I had it on Sunday night, coming into
Okay.
Monday morning for us, which is your Saturday, Sunday.
It's just it really is an amazing image. It's one of these without a lot of words in it, yet is very powerful. What do you think, Tim?
Well, of course, I'm hearing this in terms of my own experience. And one of the things I sort of struggle with is learning to absorb the wisdom of the body. And so that's what I'm resonating with here. And it feels to me like the snake is this really powerful magician kind of figure that has this really potent medicine. And that's the reason it's so dangerous, is because if you can't absorb that medicine, it's going to kill you.
Mhm.
And so getting it contained is a kind of progress, but then it escapes from the bag. And then this blank place happens. And the thing that springs to mind is maybe you have become the snake. And then there's an evolution into the turtle, which is a higher form of the reptile that is not only has legs and is a creature of the above and the below, but also can protect itself in a way that a snake is too vulnerable to do. And this business of getting up on the roof is really intriguing, because there's some kind of spiritual element that suddenly gets these turtles on the roof, like they're flying turtles. So I just find myself thinking about being up in that high place above the temple, and the slipperiness of being so close to the animals that you may lose that height if you're not careful, or if you don't absorb that kind of wisdom or something like that. It makes me wonder, do you know what your Myers-Briggs personality type is?
I don't actually. I haven't. I think I've done it before, but I can't quite remember. I know astrological symbols, but yeah, it's interesting what you said about the height thing, because I was calling out to my neighbor to come and help me, but he didn't help. He said, "You'll be right. You'll, suck it up. You'll be right." So whether I feel like I'm not ready to be up that high or something, I feel like I'm slipping away, but I was being told to stay up there. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very parallel image to a dream that I talked about 6 months ago, where I was stuck
Yes,
up on the roof.
I was thinking of that too,
Mhm.
where no one will help you down.
Right, and I'm asking
Yeah.
for a ladder from the neighbor.
Yes, you asked for a ladder from the neighbor. I thought it, right off the bat, I thought of Tim's dream. I'll tell you, Shu, I'm just going to guess that you're either an INFJ or an ENFJ. Now, I'm just guessing.
Okay.
Yeah,
So what does
you
that
check
mean?
it out. Okay, it would mean that you're either, and I think you seem fairly extroverted, but you are considering things that are introverted. So I couldn't really say which, but then your dominant function would be intuition, which I think has to do with your wonderful way of being earthy about astrology. You can bring it into this world, and you don't speak about it theoretically. You speak about it, how it's related to the Tao of this moment. And then the feeling function, I can just tell that by the look on your face. Now, the J aspect represents which function is extroverted. Yeah, so I have to make a correction. You're either an INFJ or you're an ENFP. You're either an extroverted intuitive feeling type, or you're an introverted intuitive feeling type. But the last letter always represents which is the extroverted function. But anyway, that is neither here nor there. But I would say that Charles, why don't you tell us what you think, and then I want to just recap the dream in a dreamy way. I want to talk about it in a dreamy way. What do you think, Charles?
Well, the first thing that struck me was, there was a couple weeks ago where I brought in a dream where there was a very large snake, which I grabbed by the back of the head. And then the following night, I had a dream where I was helping a bunch of turtles get through a stream. Yeah, that's just kind of
Wow.
funny coincidence, but
Maybe we're all in the same place.
yeah, really.
Astral dreaming.
I don't really know exactly what to say about this one. I'm still trying to, well, I mean, I think the snake is sort of the like, I don't know, it's like a kind of sacred creature that has to do with representing the unconscious and the mysteries and symbolism, and is sort of a representation of the life force.
That's exactly what it is.
And yeah, it's apparently something that in your life cannot be, you know, contained. Apparently it's or at least the ego perceives it as some sort of threat to the instincts. And that just kind of, I don't know, for me resonates true, because I think back when I was really, really delving into ancient mystery schools, and I mean, just, you know, very deep in the unconscious or exploring it, I think my instincts were at risk. But yeah, I think the turtle pagoda is really interesting, in that it's sort of like, I don't know, it does make me think of like a sacred stack of turtles. And I don't know, by the way of the turtle, is the way that a sort of spiritual ascent and descent can be made. I don't really know what that means, but I don't know. I would just spend some time thinking about turtles, literally. That's how I do a lot of my dreams. If a certain image comes up in my dream that I'm a little bit confused about, I refer to it as I carry it with me. I just carry it with me throughout the day and sort of keep it in the back of my mind. And then hopefully something will happen throughout the day that I just go, oh, okay, that resonates with that image. Like, I kind of have a clear picture of it now. So yeah, I would just use your imagination in order to get a closer relationship to the turtle and to understand the image of turtle. Yeah, just use your imagination. But yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Yeah, it makes sense that I'm thinking of that myth of Hermes being born and it having, when it was first born, it made a helmet out of a turtle shell until it convinced the pantheon that it was one of the gods, and it was then given the helmet with the wings. So it makes sense now with the turtles going for the deep dive to the descent and being able to come up again, that Hermes' first hat was the turtle shell.
Well, okay, yeah, it is. I think the things that most amaze me about this dream is first of all, is just what it says about our unconscious and the images it uses. You know, it uses now. Roy's dreams do this. They will, you know, they use some of the most surprising creatures on the planet Earth. He has in his dreams that suddenly just appear out in his dreams. But the fact that the first what Charles was saying, the snake is the life force. It represents the life force. You know, as it slithers away, you know, we are afraid of it, but we need to follow where it goes because it will lead us where we need to go. The snake knows where we need to go. And yet it doesn't like us, but it knows where we need to go, you know, and it usually finds some kind of a spot that is friendly to the unconscious. So, but then, so that, and the ego has a friendly relationship with this dangerous aspect. I mean, there's sort of a balance. You know, it isn't that you're entirely threatened by it. It seems that there is a balance, even though it's never going to be very friendly to ego. Ego has found a way to cope with it, you know. So let's just go through the images first. We're in the temple where the figures of our early youth and our early learning are. So we're at a place in the temple of the youth of our, the learning of our early youth. So that's the original departure point of the dream. So from that image, everything else flows. So we know that this is the place of the learning of youth, you know. So what is the learning that we experience? The snake appears, okay? And what we need to do is know how to interact with the snake, you know, and not in a destructive way. So there's this learning of how to interact with the life force too. The life force, which is very alien to ego and somewhat threatening to ego, and yet is what ego lacks, is the deep connection. But I'm sensing you have a pretty earthy soul. I mean, the fact that these theoromorphic or animal forms come up is, as Roy has, I think, an earthy soul too. Okay, so there's just this aspect from this temple of the place of learning of youth. The first thing we see is the snake, and we sort of do a dance with it, sort of do a dance with the life force, you know, and we can't, you know, have a very intimate relationship with it because it's very dangerous. And yet we do try to, you know, interact with it somewhat, and then we black out. Okay. So those are the first two aspects of the dream. Then we go into the third aspect, and the great omen appears. Now, there is a dog, another instinctive animal there, that has found the dead turtle and the rebirth turtle. So there is an aspect of, here's the dead turtle and here's the living turtle. So there's an aspect of what we need is the rebirth, the turtle in us. There's a dead turtle in us, and there's a turtle in us that needs to be reborn. And this has to do with the high school reunion too. I think it has to do, it's a youthful, it's sort of, the third section's related back to the first a little bit by the youthful turtle. Okay, then we go from there. What is the youthful turtle going to bring us? Okay, it's going to bring us the temple with the roof of turtles, the roof of turtles. Now, I just want to mention that my spiritual animal is the woodpecker. Now, what is it about a woodpecker that is unusual? Is it has to do with it's a bird that never leaves the tree, you know? So, I mean, it's a very strange bird. I mean, it's a bird, or the spirit animal of a tree, you know? And so that is my sort of spirit animal. Actually, I see this woman right here every morning, by the way, you know, the woodpecker mother. I actually talk to her every morning. But anyway, it just is, instead of, so what made me think of that is the roof of the temple of our ancestral wisdom. It's a Chinese temple. You're ethnically related to the Chinese people,
Yep.
the Taoists, and if seems like it's a Taoist temple, not a Buddhist temple, it's a Taoist temple, and where your father's ashes may have been buried, but it has to do with the ancestral wisdom, and it's roof full of angels and doves and all kinds of air beings? No. And it is the roof of the pagoda is related to the life force because it has accents the dragon lizard aspect of the life force. And up here are the turtles. So the spirit animal of the roof of our temple. Now, we remember the high school reunion, the relationship with the life force, the dead turtle in us and the young turtle in us. Then we go to the temple of the turtles, and it's or the temple of the ancestors, and its spirit animal is the turtle, and it's at the highest place. So the highest wisdom of the ancestral temple is this being which doesn't go up into the air and come back down. It goes like Inanna down into the depths and then ascends. So that is a really a sort of an announcement of what your rhizome is, or your seed, or your root. In other words, how should my tree flourish? Okay, your tree is going to flourish with the is going to flourish with a spirit animal that has to do with going deep into the watery depths and then coming back up. You know, it can live in either world without any problem. It can live as easily down there as it does up here. Now, what does that say about you? I mean, it has quite a statement, I think, you know, about your seed or your wisdom. And I mean, if I had a dream like this, first of all, it's so foreign to me because I'm such an air being. But, you know, it's just a wonderful mythic universe that I occupy. You know, that my spirit being is at the highest place of the temple of the ancestors. You know. Well, anyway, I guess I've kicked that around too much. Tim, did you? I'm sorry. I just
Thank
went
you.
on
That
too
was
long.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very resonant. I feel very resonating with what you.
Yes. Well, I mean, thank you for sharing it. I think that was one of just an absolutely exquisite dream. I mean, I just love it. I mean, it's one. I mean, I say I have that about all these dreams. I don't ever forget them. I don't think I forget anybody's dream. I mean, they just I think about them later. But let's also consider this a little later. Now, Tim, did you have a dream you just want to introduce?
Yeah, I emailed it to you.
Oh, you emailed it to me. Great. I'm sorry
Do
that I.
this time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's
wanted
just
to-
go.
I wanted to just make one more comment about
Yeah.
Shu. I think I wonder if you're right about her being an intuitive, and in which case your inferior function is sensing, which is mine also, and Craig's, and I think most of us here are intuitives, and so that is always the hardest for me to incorporate is the sensory world, you know, it's so easy to be intellectual and to have, you know, to live in the mind and so forth. But anyway, that's, if you really are an intuitive, that's a thing to think about, is becoming more familiar with the sensory part of this message.
Well,
And also I wanted to make sure that we look at Roy's drawing before we,
yeah,
Take off the
can
date.
anybody get that up? I was trying to get it to see it. Can you open it? I was
Yeah.
trying to open it and I couldn't. Yeah, can you put it on the share? 'Cause I couldn't get it open. Let's see. Oh, did you draw that, Roy?
Yeah, that's I drew
Oh
that.
my
Pen
God.
and ink. That's a pine forest.
wow.
I guess that's a pine forest. I mean, that the amount of care that went into that is unbelievable. It's just
What
crazy.
is
And
that,
the,
pencil or a pen ink drawing? Or?
Yeah, pen ink.
just absolutely amazing. How many hours did that take you?
About a month or something. I worked on it, maybe 80 hours.
Wow.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's great
done,
material.
it's done with great love, and it really is.
Yeah,
It's
that was
beautiful.
my dream home when I was in my 20s, but it never worked out.
Well, now that is information we needed to know about that dream, don't you think? That was your dream.
Definitely.
Yeah,
So
and
that,
on the right is this tree
That was done in
like,
the 70s.
huh.
yeah, it is just, so the outlines of it, someone is building it for you, this dream house in your, but not in the outer world, it's in the inner world. See what was so appealing about this was that it woke energies in the inner world. Well, Tim, did you want to read your dream here? I put some of it in the thing. Let me put.
Well, we should probably just put it off till next time.
Okay, sure thing. Well, why don't we just quickly, we've got 4 minutes left. I'm gonna put Charles' dream in there real quick, just to look at it, not to say. Well, let me see if I can. Charles, do you have that dream real quick? Put in there.
I could tell it.
Yeah, go ahead.
everything's
Tell
in the
it. Just tell it real quick. But Tim, we'll
Yeah,
start with
yeah.
your dream next time.
book. So I was in a bedroom and there are 3 people with me. One is this girl I work with named Mary Grace.
I thought it was Mary Beth.
Yeah, no, I remembered. No, her name's Mary Grace. I accidentally call her Mary Beth all the time, but Mary Grace. Then some man who was really ambiguous, and I couldn't really see him, or I didn't know who he was, what he looked like. And then there's a child with me, and he was sitting on the bed. And Mary Grace just out of nowhere yells, "Sexu," and I say, "Well, technically it's Sekusu." And she's kind of just enthusiastic and bubbly, smiling. And right after she says that, the boy on the bed next to me has a crucifix with the like a cross with Christ on it, and then he has like a little pendant of Mary, and he sort of lays them on top of each other like a sexual gesture, and kind of is trying to hide it with like the bed sheet as he sits there next to me. And yeah, that was a dream.
Well, it's just these 4 people. There's the anima and unknown person and the child. And then suddenly she yells out the Japanese word really for conjunctio. She just yells out conjunctio. And then the dream ego doesn't get the point of it, just says she pronounced it wrong. And then the child has, the little child there has a crucifix and the pendant of Mary. So he's got the dying God and the goddess, the mother of God, and he puts them together in a conjunctio, but he's doing it secretly so that Charles can't see, but he's sitting right next to him, so he sees it. So anyway, we'll get at that next time. Gary, too, you owe us a dream too, and then we got a really good dream from Tim, and Roy also has a follow-up dream. And Shu, if you come here next time, we'll try to keep it down about 25 minutes a dream or something, so we can get at everybody's. Maybe if I would shut up, it would work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm usually, this is probably the only time I
Yeah.
can make it because Thursdays I'm usually working.
Yeah,
So, well,
Mondays.
This is your Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Tuesday
Yeah, so
at
this is-
10 a.m.
yeah.
right now in Australia. So,
That's right.
anyway,
Yes, that's the only
We're
time I
across
can
the-
sort of make it. What time is the other group? Did you say Sunday night?
yeah,
or something
it's
like that?
Sundays. So it would actually be Monday at 2 a.m. Sydney time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a little
so
hard.
Yeah, if I'm up because I can't sleep, I'll tune in.
I'll just come. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Shu,
Tim,
it's been really nice to have you
Thank you
here.
so much.
yes. Yeah, thank you, Shu.
Yeah,
You
it's so
really
lovely
are.
to-
You are a force of nature, and thanks for coming. That was such a beautiful dream. And so we'll
Oh,
see you
thank
all
for
next
all
time.
your
And
words.
yes, and drop in anytime, Shu. And thanks, Tim and Charles and Gary and Roy, and we'll see you Wednesday if you're here.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye, guys. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
See ya.
Okay, bye now.
Bye.